Inside Science.
This is not a hologram, even though it really looks like one. It's actually a tiny polystyrene ball, about 1 millimeter wide, suspended by sound waves. An array of speakers underneath the ball use sound waves to create pressure in the air, pushing the ball up against gravity. The system can also use those pressures to move the ball around very fast. Move it fast enough, give it some mood lighting, and you can create what seem like solid, beautiful, floating structures called volumetric displays, not holograms. This isn't actually the first time we've seen such volumetric displays. This one from last year used lasers for levitation instead, but the new system can do more, much more. As well as floating the ball, it can use its sound waves to create pressure on your fingertips. So when you get near it, it feels like you're actually touching something. And perhaps less surprisingly, it can also use the sound waves to generate noises. And this is the first multi-sensory responsive display of its kind. And it's really cool. We are getting closer and closer to a sci-fi future. One in which we hand over increasing control to artificial intelligence. In the last month alone, AI tools have been developed to better predict life expectancy for heart disease patients, to identify blood cells for diagnosing acute myelogenous leukemia, to find more economic ways to produce hydrogen for renewable energy, and even to design, build, and test an entire chemical-producing, biology-incorporating factory. But my favourite has to be an anti-censorship AI that uses evolution in the context of computer code to make censored internet more accessible. And this could be hugely important in places like China, where the Great Chinese Firewall blocks access to sites like Google, and YouTube, and Wikipedia. The AI is inspired by the workings of DNA. It has access to many, many fragments of code, and it puts them together in different ways to create different strategies to evade censorship. The strategies that work are kept, the rest are chucked out. Then, the AI randomly changes some code fragments, combines different ones together, and then tests them again. It's like it's mutating, crossbreeding its strategies, then using natural selection to evolve the best one. Using this AI, the researchers showed that a computer behind the Great Chinese Firewall could access websites that were normally forbidden. An AI that evolves and mutates. This feels like the part of the film where someone dies, horribly. I hope it's not me. Although some sort of sci-fi dystopia is getting closer. This is the Robobee. It's the first ever flying microbot that can control its hovering using soft artificial muscles. The soft tissue of artificial muscle changes its shape in response to changing electrical fields, and this flaps the Robobee's wings. Perhaps more importantly, it's soft enough to be undamaged when it inevitably crashes into other bees, or the floor. And we may need that Robobee sooner than we like. Climate breakdown is driving us through the 6th mass extinction, and who knows if the real bees will make it. Society may fall apart as the climate changes, and now we know that that's actually happened before. Researchers exploring caves in eastern Iraq found evidence of climate shifts thousands of years ago, which propelled the collapse of one of the world's great empires, the Assyrians. The researchers discovered how wet the local climate had been by using the changing composition of oxygen atoms in the stalactites and the stalagmites from these caves. What they found was that almost 2,700 years ago, there was a great drought which killed the Assyrians' crops and contributed to that civilization's downfall. Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. So go and learn more about that study in this article on the Inside Science website. And that's it from me. I'll see you next month for a roundup of the year's best science. But until then, goodbye.
Inside Science. If you enjoyed this edition, follow us on the web and social media. Powered by the American Institute of Physics and a coalition of underwriters.